first time that we've I think talked about it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
go free. Go
I
nuts.
think that sorry, I'm answering.
No.
I feel like when I read it is when I went, oh my God, people are gonna love this. It's just
I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for movies in Sweden.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great, especially now when I get to speak with the three of you. I was told to tell you that I've seen all the episodes, and I'm going to hold this interview back until the finale airs. So you're free to say whatever. And I'm going to go deep into spoilers right away. First of all, you've seen all the episodes, right? Yourself? Yeah. So, Kong. At the end, what was your reaction seeing him in the same show that you guys are in?
This is the first time that we've I think talked about it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, go free. Go nuts.
Think that sorry, I'm answering.
No.
I feel like when I read it is when I went, oh my God, people are gonna love this. It's just one of those things where when you're a fan of something, a book or something that's derived from a comic book, these things that have such big fan bases that it's like a dream come true type of I guess type of ending or button, I feel like so often I'm
For
disappointed
sure.
at the end of a series or a movie. And this is one of, I think, just I'm not gonna lie, I think it's one of the best endings of television, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's Twin Peaks and this.
Right. I said one of the.
Yeah.
No, but it's so exciting. Like I couldn't believe that was how it was gonna end, and I know that I am part of it, but it was like what's happening next? We have to tell us. It was really exciting.
I completely agree.
Okay, agree. Yeah. So we obviously don't know if you might know, but we're obviously hoping there will be more seasons of this because that's some cliffhanger to end this show with. If they would cancel it, I would go mad, and I'm I'm sure a lot of viewers would go mad as well. So I do hope they will greenlit a second season. If that were to happen, what would you like to go into next? What would be the next thing that you want to see in this universe if it were to happen?
You.
Hopefully explore something that we haven't seen. That's always what's
Something completely new.
Something completely new that we haven't seen that's in the original material. I think there's plenty more that hasn't been made or televised. So yeah, something like that.
I'd like a villain story.
Ooh, yeah.
I would love to see, I don't know, one of us become a bad guy or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I can't speak for the whole show, but the trio, we were kind of like pushed into this situation and we're kind of finding answers. So in the next one, if there is a next one, I kind of want them to have initiative and like do something, like go for something rather than being the ones that are like thrown stuff upon,
instead of like
yeah.
If you do get more seasons, I would also like to kind of see even deeper into the future. We don't know where Kurt Russell's character will end up if he comes back at all. So that would be interesting too.
That would be interesting.
And before we wrap, I know I'm almost out of time. I just must say that Anna, I'm really looking forward to see you as Lady Marco as well. It's one of my for next year the titles that I'm most looking forward to. So
thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for allowing me to speak with you today, and best of luck with the rest of this season. And yeah,
thank you.
Fingers crossed for the next one.
Thank you.
Kong is too flashy. He's trying to get attention. He's climbing up the Empire State Building. Like, look at me. Godzilla, he's just working class, like just going to work. And like, I respect
Smashing
that.
shit. Hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for Movie Scene in Sweden.
Hi, hey Jonathan, how are you?
I'm doing great, especially now when I get to speak with the two of you, of course.
I totally understand that. We're delightful.
You sure are, and you star in a delightful show this time around. I've seen all the episodes of the show, and it's one of my favorite this year. It goes everywhere, and
Oh yeah,
it really
fantastic.
delivers. Yeah. So I wanted to start out by asking how it was to to kind of drop into a world with monsters and Kurt Russell. Like, how is that?
Kurt Russell is not a monster, and I take issue
I
with the
said,
fact that you're
and
implying that he is.
monsters.
Oh, okay, all right, just making sure. No, personally, like, you know, like many other people, like Kurt was a hero of mine growing up, and so to get the opportunity to spend a little time with him, I just was like very surreal, and like what a treat. And you know, as I've sort of said many a time, like, you know, they say don't meet your heroes, but I think Kurt like dispels that notion, because he more than lives up to the like person that you think he's going to be. He's incredibly generous and talented and so smart. But yeah, like, was on cloud nine every day.
Stepping into that world, yeah, both Kurt Russell and the monsters is just epic. And indeed, it's like you sort of grow up watching his movies, I think, and not just once. It's the type of movies that you've watched a million times. I think I watched Backdraft like 10 times or something. And The Thing, but it's, yeah, like very generous actor, like writer as well. So he sort of like did everything he could to elevate our material, to make it the best it could be. And the monsters, super exciting thing to be a part of. You know, every time they show up, it's like a massive event. It's like a big thing. Is there going to be a new monster? Is Godzilla going to be there? Is he not going to be there? You know, it's like you building this anticipation. And for us, it's just as exciting watching it, you know?
And for us who are watching it at home now, it's really nice to have a TV show on the scope, almost as when you go to the movies in the cinema and see these kind of monsters. So I obviously must take this opportunity to ask which monsters are your favorite within this universe?
I mean, it's Godzilla. Yeah. I know that's the easy answer, but I think it's Godzilla over Kong, I would say.
It's the easy answer, maybe, but it's also it's a true one. Yeah, Godzilla.
Kong is too flashy. He's trying to get attention. He's climbing up the Empire State Building. Like, look at me. Godzilla, he's just working class, like just going to work, and like, I respect
Smashing
that.
Shit.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you'll smash some shit, but like, you know, he's doing it for the right reasons, and it feels like Kong is like, who does he think he is?
I guess you have a point. So how this is taking place, like there are movies that you can watch, and this takes place within the context of those. We have John Goodman that we've seen in a previous movie as well. Where would you guys think that viewers who want to like invest more time in this universe should start? Is the TV show? Should you start with the movie? Which way would be the best you would
I mean, in a
say?
way, you can watch them all independently from one another. Like, they're linked and they exist within a timeline. Like, for people who know the movies, like our show takes place after what they refer to as G-Day, like the San Francisco destruction of the 2014 film, I believe. Yeah. But you know, they're not dependent on each other. So in a way, and I guess that's what's the fun thing with diving into these universes, is that you can kind of start wherever you want, and you can sort of pick, you know, you don't it doesn't have to be linear, and you're not missing anything by watching one or watching, or, you know, it's you can, there's a bit of, you can sort of delve into it and sort of do what you want.
I will say though that for Monarch, that they paid close attention to a lot of that stuff. So if you keep a keen eye out, I think you're going to see a lot of threads and Easter eggs and things like that to like various other things. So yeah, I mean, it does. I certainly don't think the order is your experience will be messed up by starting anywhere. But I do think what Chris and Matt did for this show, I think was, to try to like shoehorn in a show in between stuff. I think they did a very good job of connecting dots and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So thanks a lot for taking the time to speak with me, and best of luck with the rest of the season. And I'm hoping we get a lot of more seasons as well.
Thanks for me,
Damn, yeah, great to meet you, John.
Yeah, when I found out I was going to be playing young John Goodman as Bill Randa, it was a little intimidating. And then they reassured me, like, you don't have to be John Goodman. And I said, great, because I can't do that.
I am Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for Movie Scene in Sweden.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, what up?
Hi, I'm doing great, especially now when I get to speak with the two of you, of course. I've been dying to see the end of this season, because the episode has not been out for us either. But I saw them last night finally. I love this season, so I'm really happy to be able to speak with you both now.
Great.
I wanted to start out by asking you, Anders, how it was to portray a character that we had actually seen before, John Goodman, and he's actually in this show a tiny bit as well. So did you get to speak with him at all, or how did you go about to do your portrayal of his earlier life?
Yeah, when I found out I was going to be playing young John Goodman as Bill Randa, it was a little intimidating. And then they reassured me, like, you don't have to be John Goodman. And I said, great, because I can't do that. So I just did my thing, brought my energy, and had a great time being part of this.
And my next question, I want you both to answer. And your two characters, the timeline that we get to follow is kind of, it's set almost during like the war and stuff like that. So it's not where we get to spend time with the rest of this show. So I wanted to know how that experience was for you guys, and if that was very much different from the rest of the cast.
The different from the modern timeline experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I assume so. It's a very different world and different story, and we never cross paths, so we don't really know what their experience of it was. But for us, it was my first time doing something in the 1950s. I never thought I would get to do something in the 1950s in America, just as a Japanese person. So when I first read the script and, saw this character, it was just a dream come true in a way, because I don't think I ever could have come up with an idea to put a Japanese woman working with the US military in the 1950s when there was so much bad blood. I don't think it would have even occurred to me. So I'm really grateful to the writers who came up with this. And the research part of it was also really fascinating. So yeah, I really had a good time.
Just to add on to what
And,
Mar's talking about, like, it adds a whole level of subtext to everything, right? And everyone kind of goes into this relationship and this situation kind of charged with who they are, where they're from, what they represent. And as those things peel away and the human stories start to evolve, and then these people who find out they have a common goal or common interest start working together, they become super close, and then I think you see that in the modern timeline, that it's more evolved, right? Obviously things have come a long way, and like the diverse cast of the modern era in the show kind of doesn't have the same subtext,
Yeah, it's true. I think, we get to hear Billy Anders's character's history a little bit in the second episode, and we never really explicitly get to hear what Keiko's story was. But I think all of our choices, like Anders, me,
Wyatt, the way we played our characters, we wanted to bring those nuances into, like maybe, for instance, the way I react to Anders sort of facing his own trauma. Like we wanted it to read in those subtle ways that we all, we were at odds with each other, but we can, like, after the fact, we can all kind of relate, and that's the beginning of like their bond. So
Yeah. Thanks a lot for taking your time to speak with me, and best of luck with the rest of the season. I sure hope that we get more seasons as well in the future.
thank you.
So thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
buddy.
And in Spoils of War, for the first time, you had characters that you loved on the ground going up against characters that you loved in the sky, right? And I wanted to really tell that story from the point of view of Jaime Lannister and Bronn.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for movies in Sweden.
Hello.
Hi. So I want to begin with saying that I'm a huge fan. You can really pick the TV shows. You have like the best track record from all the shows that I like Succession and The Boys and Game of Thrones and Fargo, and the list goes on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I watched the first 8 out of 10 episodes of this season, and well, it's one of those shows that kind of raises the bar. I feel like for every other show that's going to come next, in a way that I feel like Game of Thrones did back in the days, especially one of your episodes, the Spoils of War. So I was wondering, kind of. Having had that experience on Game of Thrones with a massive beast doing damage, did that help in any way to shape how you wanted to your episodes on this show as well?
100%. I think the loot train battle in the Spoils of War helped me so much for this project. Monarch is all about experiencing monsters from the human point of view. And on Game of Thrones, they had spent a lot of time with Daenerys's point of view up above with the dragons as she, destroyed her enemies, and we were rooting for her. And in Spoils of War, for the first time, you had characters that you loved on the ground going up against characters that you loved in the sky, right? And I wanted to really tell that story from the point of view of Jaime Lannister and Bronn, what it was like to be down there, and also all the Lannister army when war changes forever and your life changes forever because you think you know how to fight with a spear and a shield, and then all of a sudden here comes this F-16 to a medieval battlefield. And for us, it's the same. It was like, how can you be a school teacher in San Francisco on a normal day, on a rainy day, with taking your kids from point A to point B, and then your world changes forever, and Godzilla arrives, and that bridge is destroyed, and it just starts Kate on a journey to discover so much about her father, about a brother she didn't know. So human point of view mixed with monsters, absolutely informed by Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I could really feel like I remembered watching that episode, and then I realized, well, you actually did that episode too. So that was great. Apart from the monster, as you said, we love the monsters. We get to spend a lot of time with the characters, and you get to develop the characters for the viewers in the first 2 episodes. So what was most important to convey during these first 2 episodes in your mind?
I obviously love Godzilla, and when I heard they were doing a show about Godzilla, I was immediately interested. But then I was just blown away by what Chris Black and Matt Fraction, who created the show, had created. It was this story about a multi-generational family drama with a puzzle and a mystery at its core. And we were following point of view characters. In so many of these monster movies, you're either with the monsters way up in the sky battling, and that's very exciting, but you're not paying attention to what's happening down below. Or if you're with the people down below, they know everything. They're experts, they're scientists, or whatever. And what's so special about this show is we have so many people who are experiencing this world for the first time, from young Lee Shaw and Kate and Kentaro and May, and everyone is sort of figuring out this world as they go. And it was such a beautiful engine for drama and for messy family drama, which I love, set against this world that is changing, this world full of monsters.
For sure. And last question, was it always in their minds to have the Russells play the same character? Because that's a stroke of genius.
It was not always the plan. There was always a plan to have Lee Shaw be a very important character in two different timelines. And then when the casting process was happening about who could be a great older Lee Shaw and who could be a great young Lee Shaw, oh my goodness, there are two actors who happen to be father and son who would be perfect for this.
Yeah, they look alike.
They look alike. You know, what's funny is they don't actually have the same approach to acting, right? They're different kinds of performers. They're both brilliant. They're both great. So it was fun to watch them create this character together and borrow a little bit from each other's approach to make a Lee Shaw that stood on its own. It was that there was their co-creation.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for taking your time to speak with me. Best of luck with the premiere. I'm sure it will go great.
I hope so. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we're in an interior. If we have a 300-foot tall monster come through, everybody's just going to be dead. So we're going to have like a bunch of smaller creatures.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for Movies in Sweden.
Great to meet you.
Right back at you. So I've watched a ton of your work throughout the years, and when it comes to this show in specific, I was blown away by the episode I was allowed to say. I watched the first 8 so far, so I'm eagerly awaiting the last 2. But I wanted to go back almost 10 years when you did Godzilla, the Gareth Edwards one, and then a few years later you did the King of Monsters as well. So I wanted to know how those movies compared to working on this TV show that really doesn't look like a TV show.
You know, it's like it's been quite an evolution. Like I started on Godzilla 2014 as an artist, and like one of the more like humble moments in my career was when I was looking at my monitor one night and I'm just like listening to some music and I'm like, oh, I'm working on creating Godzilla's heat ray for the Western legendary movie. You know,
Yeah.
like that's a huge piece of history of film that you're contributing to. And you have to like, there's a moment where I'm like, okay, we need to take this seriously. You know, we need to like make this feel real and like impressive. And then, you know, King of the Monsters, I was sort of like briefly was on that one. I got to work on that Mothra birthing sequence. Helped out a friend on that one, and it was such a fun thing, and a lot of it had that like human point of view that Gareth Edwards had in his film, and it was like fun to come back to that. And so like when
like this has that too, I feel like that human point of view.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that really like appealed to me about the script and the creative intent of the filmmakers, is they wanted to sell things through that human point of view, and coming back to that was really exciting. And you know, there's vast differences in how you approach an episodic versus a feature, and but a lot of like the same creative intent undergirds the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering now, doing this as a TV show, that kind of sets expectations on the audience, to kind of to lower their expectations if we go to how it's been back in the days. But I think a lot of people will be blown away how detailed these monsters actually look and feel like. I feel like I've only seen that on Game of Thrones before, those kind of dragons, and we know that they cost a lot to make. So having spent being a part of every episode of this show, what was like the most important thing for you to get right on the monsters, since I think that's what people will really be blown away out.
Yeah, I mean, like it was, a lot of it is like sort of driven by the direction and you know, the photography and the acting and the performances, right? Like we didn't want to just have monsters that that are sort of observed from a distance. We wanted them to be in the thick of the action with our heroes. And sometimes that meant like, okay, well, we're in an interior. If we have a 300-foot tall monster come through, everybody's just going to be dead. So we're going to have like a bunch of smaller creatures come up, but we'll amplify it by making it not just like a couple, it'll be like 1,000, right? And so suddenly you still have that Godzilla size scope, but you have that with a bunch of individual smaller things. And then, like getting the detail in is just a process of like, the Legendary has set this really awesome template of you look at something from the natural world and then you take details that you like and then you get weird with it. And you sort of go out, do these rough sketches, and then you're like going to finish it, and then you start going back to the real world. You look at like, the details of a pangolin scale and like the way that light bounces through it and the surface breaks up and all of those things. You look at how an elephant moves. You look at how, you look at like what, a creature stomping through the Arctic will get snow accumulated in its body, and like shake off as it steps. So like that's what our creatures need to do as well. And you find ways to add detail through those kinds of vectors.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, it really works. I hope we get a bunch of more seasons of this. So thanks a lot for taking time to speak with me, and best of luck with the premiere.
Thank you so much.
What we couldn't do was take these incredible blockbuster, big budget feature films and just shrink them down and do the kind of cheap TV version of them that we had to.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for movies in Sweden.
Hi there. Hello.
Hi. So I'll start off by saying that I watched the first 8 out of the 10 episodes, eagerly awaiting the last 2. I told Matt Shakman this too, but I feel like this is a show that has now sets the bar for every other monster show that will come after this. This is one to beat.
No pressure then. Yeah. It's like
no pressure. No, exactly.
But thank you very much.
Yeah, I really like it. So I wanted to know kind of how you decided on where you wanted to step off. We've seen Godzilla for the last 70 years, but you decided where you wanted to kind of step off and go off on your own and create this. So what made you go there?
Well, I mean, I think it really started with us acknowledging that we needed to make a TV show, and that what we couldn't do was take these incredible blockbuster, big budget feature films and just shrink them down and do the kind of cheap TV version of them that we had to. We knew the world that we had to play in, which was the Legendary features, but we really had to sort of build what would work as a television show from the ground up. It needed to be 10 hours, not 2 hours. We needed to create, we had a different budget and production schedule that we had to work within. We knew we wanted to create a set of characters that you would follow from week to week to week, that it couldn't just be a monster procedural. It couldn't be, that would become tiresome if just every week was some new Titan kicking a building over. So we wanted to craft a mystery. And I think what kind of cracked it open, and we knew we had this set of characters. Matt had originally come up with this idea of centering it on the Randa family and the Randa legacy, and starting with Bill Randa as the founder of Monarch, and then making that a generational story going forward about intertwining the Randas with the organization Monarch. And then when we started working on the pilot, trying to break the pilot episode, what really cracked it open for us was this idea of the secret that Hiroshi has about keeping 2 families. And then we were suddenly like, oh, that's a story.
Yeah.
And,
that's the legacy, right?
There's a mystery. There's a mystery that these people can follow that will pull you along, that doesn't have anything to do with monsters.
Yeah. And
also the double Kurt, the Russells, Kurt Russells and White Russell.
Yeah.
That's great too.
Yeah, and then we knew that we had this. We knew we wanted to tell this multi-generational saga, that we wanted it to take place in different timelines. It's an origin story about Monarch, but also about the trauma within the Randa family. And Lee Shaw was the character that links those stories. And so we were really lucky to find out that Kurt and Wyatt, as both incredible actors as father and son, were excited to play those two roles as playing the same character.
Yeah, for sure. And I also really like that what you said, that you didn't want to just shrink it down, but I kind of feel like this is how I would expect like 10 movies on the cinema screen to kind of look like. You really like went there. It's detailed monsters. You didn't shrink it down, but you still brought the monsters in a big way. So I wanted to say thanks for that. And Matt, you didn't really get to speak, but I really like your writing as well. We have sex criminals here.
Oh, thank you. Right on. Thank you very much.
Enough with the sex criminals already. Jesus.
What can I say? Sex criminals are my people.
Oh my God. It's like everybody we get it. Yeah. Everybody loves sex criminals.
I've paid these guys a lot of money to bring this stuff up. All right. I'll Venmo you after during the break.
Yeah. Well, and I will say before you go, one of the great pleasures for me of working on this project was getting to know Matt, working with Matt, collaborating with him, sort of mining his brilliance and becoming friends over the course of the now 3.5 years we've worked on this together. It's been a great joy.
Yeah, and I hope that you get to create more seasons together, and we'll speak again.
Us too. Thank you,
in
sir.
a year or two from now.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take it easy.